don't think it'll be longer than that. If I had to guess. Not one. I'm a woman of few words.
This is how I'm starting it. Okay, here we go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Keeping It Real podcast. I'm your host, Michaeli Lonabelle, and today I have one of my best friends, Nina Cammilleri, on the podcast. Hello.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh gosh, we're gonna try and get through this very easily. I'm actually home in Rochester, New York right now, so that is why Nina's on the podcast. I'm so excited that we're in person and
I
not
know.
like online. So I'm
Virtual.
virtual. So I had to set some time aside while I'm home to have her come on. Me and Nina have been friends for 20 years. No, 21.
Almost 21 years,
That's
I think.
disgusting. We've been friends
Because
for 21
I'm
years.
going to be 27, yeah.
That's crazy. Like, we've literally gone
Usually,
through
like,
life.
old people, like, in their 40s say, like, we've been friends for 20 years. But nope, we're not that old.
We're both 26. You're 26. Yeah, we're 26.
Yeah,
How
I'll be
old are we?
27 next month.
Oh my gosh, it's so gross. So yeah, anyways, we've been friends for 21 years, and we have both, like, recently become really close with the Lord and just gotten into our faith walk. So I'm just having Nina on here, just explain a little bit about our testimony, all the fun things. We're going to be talking about friendships. We're going to be talking about the Lord and how Nina started her faith journey, and just to help anyone out there who is starting their faith walk or their I can't speak, or their journey with the Lord. Nina is here to help you through that. So, Nina, what's up, girl?
What's up?
Tell a little bit about yourself.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.
I'm so happy to be here.
Tell us about you. Everything.
Growing up, I always believed in God. Like, I knew that I always believed in God. That wasn't a question, but, like, I just feel like my relationship with the Lord wasn't deep. I didn't really know what that entailed. So I was kind of went throughout, like, high school, most of college. I didn't really know. Just kind of living in the world. I didn't really have a purpose. I didn't really feel like I was living for anything in particular. And then the turning point was kind of in probably 2020 when my now best friend Sandy, shout out Sandy, invited me to Calvary Chapel. It's a local church here in Spencerport, New York. That's now my church that I call home. But she asked me to go. That was, like, really just a crazy experience for me. Like, I was in there, and, like, I grew up in Catholic church, so I never experienced, like, a Christian church. It was like, oh, you go in and you bow at the pew, and nothing against Catholic church. I think any church is beautiful, but it is just such a different experience than going to, like, a Christian non-denominational church. And so I just felt like such a sense of, like, peace and, like, an overwhelming sense of emotion. And I just remember I was, like, hooked. I was like, I'm always going to be here. Like, I need to come back. And then I just kept going. And that really, like, deepened my relationship with the Lord because I really felt like a connection. And it wasn't just like, oh, we go to church to do it. Like, I really wanted to go and learn about God. They do Bible study there. Like, we're actually learning and going through the word, and you're really, like, going verse by verse, and you're really learning. Like, I didn't know what my faith meant to me, but that was, like, the really big point where I actually started to be like, okay, like, God isn't just this figure in the sky that's like, we're like, yeah, we pray to God and I'm going to go to heaven, but you really start to, like, live your life in a different way. You really start to live, and that brings into the next topic that I wanted to say too, is like living a Christian lifestyle. Like, it's not, I think a lot of people, probably I was a victim of it, have just a superficial relationship with God where it's not deep, and they don't like, live their everyday life incorporating him into it. And so you just start to walk in a different way. You just start to want to do different things. You want to live life a different way. You want to be a better person. You feel a conviction by a lot of things. And that's one thing we always talk about, is the feeling of conviction versus, like, condemnation. And should we go into that part, or should I end?
You guys, I'm not cutting that out. I'm keeping it. I'm keeping it.
Into the next.
No, so I think Nina's so funny. She's been so nervous, but she's been texting me like, I can't do this. I'm like, Nina, it's literally the most relaxed, chill thing you could ever do. Like, this podcast is so chill. I went on, so if you guys haven't listened to my last podcast with Brie, go listen because I was saying something about life's a journey and everyone's on their own journey. And Brie just started dying laughing because she was like, what are you even talking about? I didn't even cut it out because I'm just like, this is just chill. But
Laugh is
I
a
think I think that that's like a really good point even to touch on like the whole conviction thing because I like always have felt conviction in my life but never like understood what it meant. Like, you know, when
Yeah.
you like feel like you're like, oh, I shouldn't be doing this, but for some reason I feel like it's really wrong, but like I am gonna keep doing it anyways.
Yeah.
And I think like that's a really big thing. Like being convicted now, like when I do something wrong or when I'm feeling that I'm doing something wrong, like I don't want to do it anymore. But I think that's just when you start walking with the Lord, like truly, like you were like, okay, I want to fulfill him, I want to make him happy, I want to do the things that he wants me
Yeah.
to do
It's like
instead
a
of
father. You don't want to
exactly.
disappoint them.
Exactly. And it's like, you know, when you're younger, you know, you have that like rebellious side to you where
Yeah.
you're like, oh, I'm gonna rebel. But also I feel like that's also the enemy being in your head, like, you can do this. It's okay. It's okay. It's
Yeah.
like he's feeding you the lies in your head of being
Yeah.
like, you can do these things and it's
Yeah.
okay. And you can do them and God's still gonna love you, but you have to be aware of what you're
Yeah.
doing.
I think once you feel conviction, because I think I went most of my life without feeling conviction.
Yeah.
Because, like, even thinking back, like, I would go to the bar, I would go everywhere,
We
I
did
would
together.
go take shots, I would take videos of it, and I
Yeah.
would think it was funny.
Yeah.
Now, when I go and I look at people doing that, I just feel like sorry for them.
Same.
Like, I pity them. I'm
Same.
like,
Yeah.
that was me, and I know how empty
Yep.
of a life you live if
So
that's what you're
empty.
doing, and it's just like, you know, conviction is like different than condemnation, because
Yeah.
conviction really is that sense of knowing you're doing something wrong, and
Yeah.
that's from God. That's him saying like, this
Right.
isn't you shouldn't be doing these things,
And
this
there's
is
more to live
wrong.
for.
Versus condemnation is from the devil, which is, you know, him saying you're not good enough.
Right.
It's all these other things that aren't from God. Shame, guilt,
Yeah.
things like that are not from God. That's from the devil. And so
Yeah.
conviction is a good thing because it
Yeah.
helps you, and you
Mhm.
need it. And that's what I love about God, is like, when I wasn't even realizing that the things that I was doing was wrong, or
Right.
like just not healthy for me.
Right.
And then he just waits. He waits. He waits. He's not pushy. He doesn't push himself on you. And I feel like that's what happened with me, is he just waited until the exact moment to reach
Yeah.
out and
Yep.
touch you. And then it's like my Pastor Dave, love him, always says, is that we're ruined for this world. Like,
Yeah.
Christians, we're just ruined for this world,
Yeah.
because once you become a Christian and you really are walking with Christ, you can't go back.
Literally.
Like he says, you can't go
Literally.
back into the world. It's not going to fulfill you. Like,
Yeah.
you're not going to find fulfillment. And
Never.
every time you try to go back, he goes, I tried to go back into the world. I couldn't do it.
You
Like,
can't.
you really can't. And
Yeah.
that's why I don't fault anyone as to like where they are on their journey, because
Yeah.
we're all a work in progress. Nobody has arrived. If we
No.
arrived, we would be in heaven.
Right.
So
Right.
we're all a work in progress, and there's no shame in anything. It's
Yeah.
just that this podcast may touch one person to be like,
Exactly.
oh gosh, like, I'm living for the world. Like,
Yeah.
I want to be a different person.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to live like that anymore.
Absolutely. And like, I mean, I've definitely lived in the world. I mean, I lived in the
Yeah.
world for my whole entire life. And I think it's like cool to see you too, because like I remember when we were little, like you were like went to Catholic church, but like you would come to like church with me too, but it's still like
Yeah.
I think it's cool of like when you went into Christian church.
Yeah.
Because even like me growing up in Christian church, like I still didn't fully understand it, but like it was
Yeah.
like the perfect time for you to like go into church and really fully understand it,
Grow
because you were
into adulthood.
yeah, you were an adult and you were actually
Yeah.
like, okay, I know how to like start a relationship, how to build a relationship, like so I think that was cool that of like when you started with him,
Yeah.
you know? Not that you haven't started with him your whole life, but you know what I mean, in like the
Yeah.
non-denominational world. Because I feel like even with me, I started growing my relationship with him like 2 years ago, and it was like the perfect time for
Yeah.
that because I actually
Yeah.
can fully understand it.
Yeah.
When you're little, it's hard to understand those things. Not that you can't,
Yeah.
but it's harder to understand those things or have a relationship because you're not fully grown
Yeah,
yet.
exactly.
So I
And
think that's cool.
that's why it's always at the like God's timing is always perfect because
Right.
it's always it needs to be when you're ready to receive it.
Yeah.
When you're
Yeah.
at the point where you're ready, like
Yeah.
you can't rush that. And some people, God bless them, are 10.
I know.
Stephanie Ike,
Oh
she
my
was 9
gosh.
years old when
Yeah.
she said that God came to her in a dream and
Yeah.
she's been walking a Christian life. I mean, it's different for everyone. Everyone's
Right.
journey is different, so you
Right.
can't.
And also, like, I think it's also cool our background and story because we get to see where we went and where we are.
Yeah.
And I think it's cool to come on here and be relatable to a lot of people too because there are a lot of people right now that are in college or growing, you know, even people our age that are still in the party scene, still in the party world that are
Yeah.
listening to this and they're like, okay, if they got out of it, so can I. And
Yeah.
just knowing that we've been there, so there's no judgment. There's not like, oh my gosh, you're still in this party scene, you're still doing this. Like, no, there's no judgment. We just don't want you to feel that empty feeling anymore because we've felt it
Yeah.
for so
Yeah.
long.
Nothing can fulfill you like Jesus. And
No,
if you
no.
try, you will fail. And
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't matter when or if, it's not if but when.
Yeah,
Like you're going to
yeah.
come to a point where you're like I'm unfulfilled. Like why do you think that all these movie stars and rock
Mm.
stars that are filthy rich, have everything you could possibly
Yep,
want, end up ending their lives to suicide or
yep,
getting into drugs? It's like they're those things of this world cannot fulfill you. And I
yep,
think that is like probably been the biggest thing that I've come to a
yeah,
realization about is that I always say like I'm just passing through this
yeah.
world. Like I genuinely feel that way. Like people think I'm like crazy when I say things like
Mm,
that, but like I literally live this world as if it's like a dot, a blip in the eternity
mm-hmm,
of heaven. So
mm-hmm.
when you start to think that way and live that way, it really changes the way you like
Yeah,
go walk through life because it's like
yeah,
this life is not everything. Like some
right.
people, commit suicide or end their life or want to leave this life because they think it's everything and they're so depressed. But like
Mm-hmm.
I think of this as just like a teeny tiny part of
Yeah,
our eternal life,
yeah,
and it just makes you want to be a better person. You want to
right.
help people. You don't care. Like, you start to just not. Like, I think, like, everyone kind of thinks that Christians just like, oh, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do this, I don't
Mm,
do this, oh, I don't murder, I don't steal. But, like, there's so much more to it.
yeah,
It's like, I'm trying to be a better person. I want to help other
exactly,
people. I don't want to swear as much. I don't want to
exactly.
like all these things. You just start to try to change yourself and you just
Yeah,
want to be a better version of yourself. Like it just really is. Like I always say the Bible is a rule book to
yeah,
life. Like it
yeah,
is. It gives you the key to life,
yeah.
and if people are willing to like accept it, it really will change your life. And it's not to say that you need to give up your current life
Right,
and be a
right.
different person.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's always going to be struggles. Like you may lose friendships. You may,
Mm,
Pastor Dave, we always talk about like your husband may not. If you're married right now and you are going a different way than your husband or
yeah,
wife, and that may cause, a rift between your marriage, like
right,
it doesn't mean that you need to be become a new person. It's just
right.
that you like you just start to want to be a better person. Like
Exactly.
you don't have to lose out on all the things you're doing now. It's
Yeah,
just that the more you walk with Christ, the more you realize like I don't want to do those things
right.
anymore. I don't want to. And so it just changes you as a person, and I think
Yeah,
that's why people get caught up too in their journey because they just worry like, "Oh, I'm not good enough to walk with God or this
mm-hmm,
or that." And
mm-hmm.
they really just like beat themselves down, but God wants you to come to him dirty,
Yeah,
beaten,
seriously.
messed up. He wants to clean you, cleanse you.
Yeah,
Nothing cleanses you like the blood of Jesus.
yeah,
So, it's you don't need to do anything. You can go to become,
yeah. You could be literally
saved
be in
right
jail.
now.
Yeah,
You can do
anything.
anything. Yeah,
Yeah,
prisoner, anything. Like
yeah.
it really is just
He just wants you to come to him and like be a good person. But that's what I always like say on here. Like being a Christian and following God is literally just making me the best person or the best version of myself. It's
Yep.
just making me the best person that I can be, which is all that I want to be.
I think one thing that you really don't see people really talk about that much, or like I always wonder when I see like influencers like Maddie Pruitt and other people, like, love her, she's amazing.
So good.
Is that you just wonder like what do they do on a daily basis, or like what
Yeah,
is their life like
so
what
true.
is their walk like? And I kind of have gone through a lot of bouts of being like very spiritually dry. Um,
Same.
and so I think that's an important thing to know when you're walking with God, is that like it's not always going to be rainbows and butterflies,
Yes.
and like
So true.
it's not always going to be like, oh yeah, I'm walking with God and I'm doing so good and I'm amazing. Like we all have setbacks. Like I
Yeah.
just was telling you how I had something like that I did that I felt really convicted about,
Yeah.
I I felt really guilty about it, and just like beating myself down, like just telling myself I'm not a good person, like
Yeah.
I'm not worthy, I'm not deserving, like I'm so
Yeah.
horrible, and just telling myself all these bad things. And it's
It's the
like
enemy.
you're always growing, you're always changing. So like I do think it's nice to have people that can be realistic about like I look at some people and I'm like, you are just like giving off the ambience of like, I'm a perfect human. I
Yeah.
don't sin. I don't mess up. I don't make mistakes. And like we all do. We all
Yeah.
make mistakes. We're all going to have, some people walk with God for 10 years. Something trips them up. Somebody dies. They have a
Yeah.
horrible experience. They stop walking and then they like fall out, and
Mm.
they backpedal, and that's normal. Like
Right.
it's the thing is
Absolutely.
that once you God will only let you, there's this one verse in like chapter in the Bible that's like, I don't know what book, but it says like God will only let you, his family, like his people, go so far away from him.
Mm.
Like he's
That's
not going
so
to let
good.
you leave him.
Right.
And
Right.
if you do, it's because of something you in your heart, that you
Yeah.
need to check your heart posture,
Yep.
and it's not him, because he's always going to be waiting there for you. You could mess up 100 times and he'll take you back. And
Yeah.
that's why I just love the Bible. And like I think
Mm.
that's such an important part of being a Christian, is reading the Bible.
Yes.
And I think it's something that I never realized was so
Same.
important,
Same.
because it really is. It's like, how else will you know God if
Right.
you don't read his word and read
Right.
what he tells us and what he
Yeah.
wants? And it's like, I know people that say, like, oh, you don't need to read the Bible. And like, I truly don't believe in that. I think
No.
that's not, I think that anyone tells you that, you should double check if if their
Yeah.
intentions are pure. There's a lot of false teachers out there, but
Mm.
I think that reading the Bible, like if you're sitting here today and you're wondering like, what should I do? Just open the Bible.
Yeah.
Choose any book. It doesn't matter. Just open it and start reading. And
I love
you're,
Matthew. If you're gonna start, I think Matthew
yeah,
is
I
like
mean, my
so good.
pastor always says John. I
Or
know John is
John.
the book,
Yeah.
is a, but all of the gospel, Matthew, Mark, Luke,
John.
John,
Yeah.
they're all amazing
Yeah.
books. And that's really how you're going to learn.
Because you
And
develop a relationship with him too. It like actually speaks to you personally.
yeah,
And then you're like, oh my gosh,
yeah,
like, wait, what the heck? Like, this
yeah,
makes so much sense. Like, this is literally my life right
yeah,
now. Because you read, whenever you start to read, like, the Lord's literally going to start at the perfect time. Like, whatever you're reading, He's going to make something stand out to you. It's going to
yep,
relate to your life in somehow, some way. And you're going to be like, wait, that's crazy. Why am I
yep,
reading exactly what I need to
yep,
read? But
yeah.
here it is.
It's like you need to get hit in the head with
Yeah.
it, knock you out so that you realize,
That's
oh,
what I say all
he's speaking to me.
the
And like
time.
there's been times where like in one day, like I will read something, like it was Christmas morning. I'm
Yeah.
in this book right now. I have it here with me, but
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
called A Year in the Bible,
Oh,
and it
cool.
gives you, oh, it's right here.
Yeah, grab it. I want to
And
see
if
it.
anyone wants to buy it, you
Yeah.
can buy it on Amazon.
I need to
I'm
get
not
this.
promoting it or have any
I'll link it.
affiliation with it,
I'll put my
but
affiliate link.
it's it just divides it up into like a daily, what you can read each day, and it's 52
Oh.
weeks. So it's like week 1 will have all the different things each day. And on Christmas morning, I'm behind. I was I'm not even supposed to be on this day.
Yeah.
And it was Matthew 5 through 7, which
Oh
is
my gosh, so
literally
good. The best.
the when Jesus is on the Temple Mount, in the begin, like when he had just started to be gaining disciples, and
Yeah.
he was preaching to them about literally every single thing. Like it says, like cheating, adultery,
Mm.
stealing,
What are they called again?
idolatry.
The what are those? What are they
Not the
called?
10 Commandments,
No.
but
What is it called? The Beatitudes. It's the Beatitudes.
oh, the
That's what it's called.
Beatitudes.
Right? Beatitudes. He says those ones. The God blesses those who mourn. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, teaching about
The
salt
salt
and
and light.
light,
Yeah.
the law, anger,
Anger.
adultery, divorce, vows, revenge, love for your enemies.
Yeah.
And I was just sitting there and I was like, wow. I was just getting hit left and right. Like, oh my gosh. I was like,
Literally.
and it was just so crazy how, like, literally, I wasn't even meant to be in that book.
Mhm.
Every single word in that chapter is in red, which, if you know in the Bible, all the red words are actual words that Jesus spoke.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I always wondered that. I didn't know that.
All the red font is actually his words. So they,
Oh.
in the entire Matthew 5 through 7 is all red. And it's
Wow.
Christmas morning. It's the day that Jesus was born. And it's just like things like that. Like it never stops to amaze me the
Yeah.
amount of times he just reaches out to you. And he's
Mhm.
just always, it's just like a reminder, like,
Yeah.
I'm here.
Yep.
Like, I'm with you,
Yep.
like,
That was me with I still don't know the story fully. I probably should dive a little bit deeper into it, but that was the David and Bathsheba story. It literally came up 5 times in five
yeah,
days. And I was like, okay, what the heck? I'm like, I really do need to like go and like dive deeper into that story and like learn more about it. But it's just like it's exactly first of all, it was like exactly what I needed to hear in that moment because of like something that was going on. And then I was like, whoa, like my grandma said something about it. It was in the Bible, it was on a podcast, someone else said something to me about it. Then I read about it the next day. I was like, what is happening? Like this
yeah.
is crazy. And then they started preaching about it at church. And I was like, I've never heard
Wild.
this story. Like, why does this keep coming up time after time? But it's mainly about like all the wrong things that David did. And like, I believe he put his brother to death because his brother was married to Bathsheba and he killed his brother so that he could be with Bathsheba. And they like something whatever he like did all these wrong things, but God still loved him like
Yeah.
in the end. And it just like goes to show you that like no matter what people can do,
Yeah.
like this is something that I'm really working on too. Like even when other people like do wrong, like their
Yeah.
sin is not
Yes.
any greater than
Exactly.
mine, you
Exactly.
know? Like
It's not.
just because they're sinning and doing something wrong that I think is
Yep.
terrible doesn't mean that I shouldn't be judged too because I'm sinning. Just like
Yeah.
if I'm gossiping,
Yeah.
sin is sin. Like there's no greater sin in the world.
There's no greater sin. The only sin that's
Yeah.
unforgivable is the rejection
Yeah.
of Jesus.
Right.
And otherwise, I think a
Right.
lot of people get hung up on that too because I was talking about that with my coworker who
Mm.
like is not a Christian, and he was like, I don't agree with that. And I was like, well, that's what the Bible teaches, and I believe it
Yeah.
because it's we don't grade our sin on, oh, you're not going to go in front of God at the end of your life
Right.
and he's going to have a list of, oh, well, you did this, so you're going to
Exactly.
get this punishment or this or that. Like, we all sin. We're all sinners. That's why we're not perfect, because we're not
Yeah.
Jesus. We're all sinners. We're always
Right.
going to sin. Even if you went throughout your day and said, I'm not going to sin today,
You're
you would
still
still
gonna.
sin in some
You're still
way.
gonna.
And
Mm-hmm.
I think it is a big thing because, like, also the Bible says you will be judged on the level that you judge others.
Yeah.
So if you're sitting
Yes.
here judging other people and saying bad things about what they're doing,
Mm-hmm.
God is going to judge you worse
Mm-hmm.
or at the equal level of what you're doing. So we all
Yeah.
need to have grace for each other. And that's why, just like another example of why the Bible is such a good book, because it's like you just can read that one verse and you're
Yeah.
just like, I need to be nicer to people. I
Yeah.
shouldn't judge people. I shouldn't. And
Right.
so it's not like so much. I think people always are like, oh, you're a Christian, like, oh,
Yeah.
like you're
Yeah.
judgy and you're this and you're gonna look down on me, and but
And
it's
like
really,
some do.
yeah.
Some do.
But God is not pleased with those people either. It's like
Exactly.
the Pharisees and the
Exactly.
pagans, like they don't they they were more frowned upon in God's eyes than
Right.
the people sinning in
Right.
Sodom and, oh my gosh, Sodom and Gomorrah. Sodom and Samora. Um, they were more like God was more displeased with those people that were Christians that
Yeah.
were judging others and looking down on them than the
Right.
people that were sinning and just minding their own business.
No, seriously. And I mean, that's something that, like, even I'm convicted of in the beginning of my walk with the Lord. I was like, oh, I can't be friends with her because she's doing this. I can't be friends
Mhm.
with her because she's doing that. I can't be friends with him. I can't be friends with this couple because
Yeah.
they're doing these things. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, but I'm still doing things. I'm still
Yeah.
doing certain things. Why
Yeah.
am I judging
And
them?
maybe you're meant to be friends with them to
Bring
touch
them.
them, bring them to God, because Jesus sat with sinners and
Oh,
ate
yeah.
with sinners, and
Oh, yeah.
everyone would be like, "Look at him, he's sitting with sinners, and
Yeah.
he's how could he?" And it's like
Mm-hmm.
that's what God wants us to do. That's what being Christians are. It's
Yeah.
little Christs. That's
Yeah.
what the word means. And it's like, why were we put on this earth? We
Right.
were put on this earth to go and talk to people,
Right.
go to reach people, to spread the gospel. Every day I wake up and I pray. I say, God, please help me spread the gospel. Please help me reach out and help people, touch
Yeah.
people in any little way that I
Seriously.
can, because it's like the Bible also says that we just read this. I think it's in Luke 20 or somewhere around there, but
Mm.
it was our recent Bible study at church about they Jesus gave was going away, and so he gave
Mm-hmm.
his disciples each like coin. So he gave them
Mm.
each like a coin,
Oh,
and he said,
yeah.
"Go out and make money." But
Yeah,
it
yeah,
was
yeah.
like it's a parable, so it's like a parable is an earthly an illustration of like a heavenly truth. It's not a real story, but
Oh, okay.
it's just like an example of like he says, "Here, take these coins."
Right.
And one disciple came back with 10 coins, one came
Mm.
back with 5, one came back with none. And
Yeah.
he said, "You wicked servant," to the
Yeah.
one that came back with no coins, because it was like those coins were like him giving them the word and the gospel, and
Right.
they were supposed to go out and preach. So it's like if I'm sitting here and I'm living a perfect life, and perfect, not
Yeah.
by, but like the best life I can, I don't sin like on purpose, like I don't lie, I don't cheat, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't hurt people, I don't whatever.
Yeah.
And but I'm just sitting in my house and I'm not spreading the word.
Mm-hmm.
God is not pleased with you either. We're
Yeah.
supposed to go out and touch people. We're supposed to make more
Yeah.
and multiply the coins that we were
Truly.
given,
Truly.
and that's what he wants us to do, and that's what he's pleased with is
Truly.
us going out and helping people and touching people. So like
Yep.
I'm so proud of you for having this podcast,
I
because
know.
even if
It's
it can
scary.
touch one person, and it's like we're not all meant to do the same thing. Like
Yeah.
ministry is so many different things. Like I heard we were talking about this recently, I don't know where, but like some people, everyone has different gifts, and
Yeah.
someone maybe is supposed to be like Maddie Pruitt and
Mm-hmm.
be, touching millions of people
Millions.
on online podcasts, and then
Yeah.
some are going to be pastors, and some are going to
Right.
be out going to Africa and doing ministry over there, or
Right.
ministry can just be you in the workplace, you in your
Yeah.
office talking about God,
So
you in
true.
the grocery store talking about God,
So
brushing
true.
shoulders with sinners, and
Seeing a
I
homeless person, doing something
yeah,
for
saying
them.
God
Yeah.
bless you,
Yeah.
giving them a
Praying for them.
Bible, I don't
Yeah.
know, anything, praying for
Seriously.
them. So it's all, there's not just one look. It's
Right.
all a different, there's so many different ways.
And like also being okay like with what you're doing and how you're doing it, like, and not comparing yourself and how you're doing it, because like,
Yeah.
first of all, my podcast is small but it's going to grow and I know it's going to be something big, but like not comparing my podcast to where like other people's are, or not comparing how I'm doing things to how other people are, because
Yeah.
however I'm doing it is still I'm doing it, same with you,
Yeah.
like however you're doing it, things like
Yeah.
that. So not comparing yourself
Yeah.
either to how it
Yeah.
is.
Because I heard this quote recently. It's like you can't judge your efficacy based upon the result
Mm.
of or the effect it had. Like
Mm.
your even if you only touched one person, it's
Yeah.
still just as effective as
Yeah.
if you touch a million people.
So true.
And like I mean, I prophesy everywhere I go. I try. Like I was scared for a long time because it's
Right.
it's some people might look at you differently once they
Right.
know what you believe in. It's but like Jesus and the disciples were persecuted, and
Yeah. Yeah.
you have to say, like, just give me the strength and help me go
Right.
forward and just spread your word. And it's like, I literally was just reading this yesterday. I think it was like, if you're being in the Bible, it says, if you're being persecuted in one city, go to the next.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
and I think when like, the Holy Spirit is there with you and Jesus is going to protect you, like,
Yeah.
and whatever happens, it's like this life isn't everything. So
Yeah.
if you
So
maybe are
true.
being affected in this life, well, he's going to be pleased with you and you're going to
Yeah.
have more in the next life. So,
And also the right people are going to come along, because I went through my walk, like when I did it, and I started I was very alone. Like I didn't really have a community. I didn't have like a
yeah.
lot of friends. Like I did it very much alone. And now like the people that I have in my life are truly
Yeah.
unbelievable. Like they are the most amazing people. Like me and you have gotten so much closer
Yeah.
ever since this. Like I would have never thought like me and you would be like talking about like Jesus on a
I
podcast.
know.
Like, but it's just
We
like
can pull up the
crazy.
videos of us from 5 years.
Yeah, I'll link some videos here. Just kidding, I'm not doing that. Yeah, because I mean, I'm sure a lot of people from like Rochester are going to listen about to this podcast and like are gonna want to hear. And it's like, they get to see how we once were. Like Chase is so funny. Me and Chase were in the car the other day. And I was like, we got in the car. And I was like, oh, I knew that girl. And he's like, yeah, they probably look at you and we're like, oh, look at that girl. She used to have orange hair and come into these places hungover all the time, and now she looks good. And it's just like, you know, it's just like possible for anyone to
Yeah.
grow and to be different. So
Yeah.
like just also knowing like if you are starting your walk with the Lord and you do lose some people, like the right people are gonna come into
Yeah.
your life,
Yeah.
or the right people are gonna come back into your life. Like I've had also friends that I wasn't friends with that are now into my life again,
Yeah.
and that's just the power of you getting on the right track, you getting on your pace of where you need to be in your life, and then the Lord being like, okay, now you're ready to be
Yeah.
friends again, or now you're
Yeah.
ready to,
And you just have to know where to find them too.
yeah,
Like, go to a
yes,
small group at
yes,
church, go to, area, like, events, things that that
yeah,
you'll find people. And it's not to say, like, I have a lot of friends, I don't know if they'll watch, but that aren't Christians. And
yeah,
it doesn't mean that we can't be friends. Like,
right,
and they say stuff to me all the time, and I just roll with it, and it is what it is. But
yeah,
I'm not going to stop being me. I'm not going to
right,
stop being true to myself. I think
right,
that's one thing that I still am a victim of, that I need to work on, is trying to be my authentic self to
yes,
everyone, because I don't do it in like a deceitful way, but
yeah,
it's like, so, like, I can't talk about certain things in front of other people, or like
yeah,
the way that certain people talk makes me uncomfortable now, like the
mm,
verbiage they use
same,
and the things they say, and like,
same,
and they say, "What do you mean you don't swear?" And I'm like, "Well, I did swear, but like
yeah,
now I'm trying not to." And
yeah,
I just don't want to have a trucker mouth that
I know,
sounds
just doesn't make me
disgusting. And
feel
like,
good.
it is a hard, it's not easy. And like, I don't want to like downplay people's
No,
like, act if they actually have like a partner or someone else that's really like making it hard for them to walk with God. It is, can be very hard, but just pray. Just
yeah,
pray to God, just pray for the strength.
yeah,
Pray for the Holy Spirit to come with you
yes,
and give you the strength to walk, because
yeah,
it's your salvation that matters at the end of the day. And
mm,
when you die, you never know when it's going to be, and you can't take people with you, and
yeah,
it's your salvation at the end of the day that is
yeah,
at stake. So
absolutely,
you have to be
absolutely,
worry about yourself ultimately. And if those people don't want to support you doing something good for yourself, then they're
yeah,
the people that aren't meant to be in your life, and the Lord will
right.
show that and reveal that to you. So
Absolutely. And that's okay. And it's hard to lose people and it's hard to not be with the people you love. But at the end of the day, these people are most likely pulling you back to not be your best version of
yeah,
yourself. So,
totally.
so losing them could be the biggest blessing in
Yeah,
your life. And I have lost so many friends in my life and so many people that I loved in my life. But looking back, it's been the biggest blessing in my
yeah,
life, because if I still had those people, my boyfriends, my friends, some of the people in my life that I had, like, I wouldn't be here
Yeah.
today. I wouldn't be who I am
Yeah.
today. And no matter the heartbreak, no matter the upset, no matter how much
Yeah.
I cried, like it's so much worth it in the
Yeah.
end, you
It's so
know?
much. And I think that's what's beautiful too about when I found, like, really started deepening my relationship with God, is because I think back to, like, if I had married any of the
Oh
men
my
that I
gosh.
had been with
Can
in
you
the
imagine either of
past,
us?
I would be living a miserable life, and
Mm-hmm.
I would be nowhere near where I am now. So I
No.
just think it's so beautiful that he just lets you go, and
Yep.
he's like, okay, like, I'm gonna be waiting here for you
Yep.
when you stop and you grow
Being
out of
an
that
idiot.
phase. And
When
but
you stop
I
being an
know what I
idiot.
want in a partner. I know what I want in my future and my
Yeah.
friends and the type of people I want to surround myself with. So like
Yeah.
it is such a blessing. Like I don't feel shame about those years that I
Right. Right.
was doing whatever and
Me
living in the
either.
world, because it was building me to become
Yep.
the person that I am today, and every
Same.
experience was integral in the process of getting to where
Yeah.
you are now.
Absolutely. I mean, Nina's been there through it all with me, you guys.
When
You
we
guys
were
need the
when we went
words.
to New York City, we let a homeless man kiss us on the cheek because we were so
She
drunk.
was
We
so
didn't
drunk.
know what
Yeah.
we were doing. And then
Nope.
I remember you had to move out of your apartment,
Mm-hmm.
and we were so hungover.
So
I was
hungover, you
laying
guys.
on the hardwood floor. I couldn't get up. We didn't get up until I think 6 o'clock in the night, and
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
went to In and Out or some burger place,
Shake Shack.
Shake Shack, and we
Shake
got
Shack.
burgers, and I was
Yep.
like, couldn't even put a bite of food in my
Convulsing.
mouth because I was so unwell. And
Yeah, and you want to know what the thing is like I revolved my life around those
yeah,
things. Like,
every weekend it'd be like, I can't wait for the weekend to come because I want to
yeah,
go
because
out.
I want to go out and I just want to forget about anything. And it's like, was that my
Yeah,
life that bad that I needed to forget about my life?
yeah,
Like, it's
yeah.
so sad.
Well, this world is full of. Read this thing recently on Instagram that was like, this world is full of addictions and they're all
Yeah,
put on a pedestal. And if you
yeah,
go against it, you are looked at as being like
so
alcohol is
true.
just so normalized. It's like
Mm,
it's a toxin in your
yeah,
body.
it's
It's
terrible.
destroying you. It's destroying every organ. It's
Yep,
destroying your brain. It's
everything.
destroying your skin. It's destroying your liver. It's
Yep,
destroying everything, but
yeah.
it's idolized and it's become just a
Mm,
normal part of your life and
yeah,
society. And
yeah,
it's like, even now, like, I'm very into healthy eating and like
yeah.
clean eating and anti, like, not using toxins and just like a toxic free living, and just knowing that like all the processed foods that we're eating are
Ugh,
so unhealthy for us and so bad for
horrible.
us and ruining our brains and our bodies, and we're
Yeah,
so undernourished, and kids have anxiety and
yeah,
mood disorders and ADHD, and it's all the dyes that are in our food.
yeah.
But I tell people this, and they look at me like, and they just tell me I'm crazy, and
Yeah,
like I
same
have 10
girl.
heads, and
Same.
I work in a hospital, and so being in
Yeah.
that environment is very, very difficult to be go against the grain,
Yep.
because people will really, and I think it's mostly, I've realized, come to the realization that it's mostly because people don't want to feel bad about what they're doing.
Yeah.
They don't want you saying that you're doing something gives them the opportunity to say like, "Oh, like what am I
Mm,
doing?" Like,
mm,
"Oh, you're not having a drink?" Like,
mm-hmm.
why won't you have a drink with me? Because they want to feel like what they're doing is okay and normal.
Yeah.
So they try to
It's
convince
so
you to
true.
do things because they don't want to feel left out or alone. Like, I remember like our friend Chloe used to eat so healthy,
Yeah.
and
We would
she
always say
and
something.
we were always like, why won't you just eat this?" And like her mom and her dad and like her whole family was like always down her throat about it.
Yeah.
And we were like, always like, I don't understand, like, why can't you have a cookie? Why won't you eat a
Yeah.
piece of cake? It's your birthday, like, have a piece of cake. And like
Yeah.
now I get it. Like,
Yeah.
sorry
Yeah.
Chloe for all the
We love
years
you, Chloe. We're
that
so
we
like that.
talked crap to you, but
Yeah.
I get it now, because it's like I'm trying to do something good for myself, but
Yeah.
people don't want you to.
Mm-hmm.
People want to hold you back
Hold you back.
and
Absolutely.
not and want you to be feeding into the desires that they have because they don't want to feel alone.
Yeah.
And it's the same way with God too. It's
Yeah.
like they don't want you to progress in your faith because they want you to still be doing all the things that you used to do with them
Mm-hmm.
and
Because they see you progressing in your life and they see you moving forward in their life and they're still staying in the
yeah.
same place.
Yeah.
It's like that's one of my favorite things when I went to this personal development course. I think a bug was just crawling on my face and I don't like that. It literally is the worst feeling. Okay, sorry. Anyways, um it was like my favorite thing that they said. It was like the main thing that stuck with me. It's like when someone you see is moving forward in your life, you are doing everything you can to pull them back
Yeah.
because you want to stay comfortable in your own
Yeah.
place and you don't want to see them move forward
Yeah.
because then that means that you aren't doing anything
Yeah.
for yourself either.
And those type of people aren't the people that you want
No.
around you because like
No.
all of my friends and the people that I've surrounded myself by are so happy to watch
Yeah.
me
Yeah.
succeed
Oh my
or
gosh,
do
same.
better or and I still have friends that say to me like why are you upset that you drank and why are you feeling convicted about
Yeah.
that? Like it's fine, we had a good time. Like why are you
Right.
upset? And it's like they don't get it either. Like you can't fault them because they're
Yeah.
not in the same mind space
Of
as you.
course.
So,
Right.
but it is
Right.
that thing of like they see you changing and they don't want you to change
Yeah.
and them to be left alone. So
Yep.
they try to keep you where they are. But like everyone is evolving and we're
Yeah.
all and if people aren't going to evolve with you then
Yeah. And
maybe
it's
you grow
okay.
apart.
Right. And that's okay. It's okay to step away and grow apart
Mhm.
and then find each other later on or don't find each other later on. And it's literally okay. I think like that's like a cool part of like our friendship too is like me and Nina, like we you guys, we were inseparable. We used to see how many sleepovers we could have in a row.
We got up to like 12, I think.
And then our parents were like, you have to stop hanging out.
We would want to like do everything
Yep,
together. Like we would
everything.
literally want to shower
Shower together.
together. They're like, "Can you
Yeah.
not?" Like you
We were crazy. We
weirdos.
were literally like literally sisters because I didn't have a sister. Well, I have half siblings, but like me and so like we didn't live in the same house. But like I was like I want a sister. Like Nina was literally my sister. So
Yeah.
we would like I don't even know. We were just crazy. So but we also like had points in our friendship where we have grown apart and then
Yeah.
come back and then grown
Yeah.
apart and come back and
Yeah.
I think now in our point of our friendship like is like the strongest that we've ever been and that like we're not gonna like not be friends again because
No.
it's just not possible.
We can't. It's like you can't leave God. You
No,
can't
you
leave
can't leave
me
me.
either.
You're stuck with me. So I think that's also like not holding on to like what happened in your friendship, you know, and
Yeah,
your friendships.
forgiveness.
Yes.
Forgiveness is
Yes.
huge. You could
Yes.
do a whole hour-long podcast on
I think I did.
forgiveness.
Did I? Yeah, I think I did. I don't know.
But
Maybe.
forgiveness is for yourself. And if
Mm.
you mainly the two takeaways are forgiveness is for yourself
Yeah.
because not forgiving someone just holds hatred and grief in your heart.
Yep.
And forgiveness is important because we also if you want forgiveness,
Yeah.
which is what we all want, we don't
Yes.
want to be held accountable for everything and we want to be forgiven. You need to
Yeah.
forgive others.
Yeah,
It says if
absolutely.
somebody in the Bible, it literally says if somebody wronged you 7 times, forgive them,
Yep.
no
And
matter
like
what they did.
if we didn't forgive each other, we wouldn't be friends. We wouldn't be here sitting where we are today. And I think like just having that open, honest communication with your friends and being able to tell them things or talk to them and just like if like something does happen, oh my gosh, I love this. This is my favorite thing. So Sadie Robertson's new devotional, she talks about this in it. It was the 24-hour rule. So when she moved in with her two
Mm,
roommates, they had a 24-hour rule. And in 24 hours, if something happened and you didn't confront them or say something about it, then and like talk about it, get over it, like forgive each other, you were had to brush it off your shoulder and it wasn't allowed to be like a thing anymore. You
because you didn't
literally
address
yeah,
it.
because you didn't address
Because
it.
it'll just
Fester,
fester.
exactly. But then she said also if it was something like a big deal, like something really big happened, give yourself 48 hours and still if you don't say anything about it, you have to brush it off and let it go. Because what are you doing, like, just letting it fester
Yeah.
inside of you? Like,
And I've done that
so
so
many
many
times. So
times.
many times.
Even still, because I'm not a
Mm-hmm.
confrontational person and I
Yeah.
don't want to be like making a big deal out of
Yeah,
something.
I,
But
I
like
get that.
this just came up with my friend last night. She was like, I don't. I let my one friend like walk all over me, kind of not like
Mm.
walk all over me, but like I don't tell her when she does something that bothers me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And eventually like maybe the first two things won't be a big deal, but like
Right.
it's going to come to a point where the kettle boils over and you're
Mm-hmm.
going to just blow up on them.
Yes. And they're
So,
gonna be like, what happened?
yeah, and they're going to be caught off guard because they're not going to know all these little things. So, I think
Yeah.
that's why a lot of friendships, relationships fail or end
Yeah.
because people
Yeah.
just wait until like they're at their tipping point and then the dominoes just fall and
Yeah.
it's just like a big blowout.
And then you
Whereas,
ruin
yeah, you
everything.
could have said something sooner and not
Mm-hmm.
been maybe dealt with it in a healthier way.
Right. And I think that's like with Chase, me and him have a very, of course, relationship where like if something happens, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna talk to him about it. I'll get over it. But
Yeah.
like sometimes with like friends or in-laws or
It's
things like that,
harder.
it's harder.
It is hard.
But it shouldn't be. And I don't know why. Like I think it depends on how you say it and like how you're gonna approach it. Like, of course, if you're gonna approach it in like a rude way, like then it's gonna become something different. But if you're gonna approach it in a way of like sitting down, like, hey, I need to talk to you about something, like, can I address this? Like, I don't think it should be a big deal. But just the way that you talk about it. So I think that's like a big thing. Just forgiveness with friends, like, because if you do forgive your friends, say you did have a falling out, like you would never know how much stronger your friendship and relationship can become.
Yeah.
And that's something that like I've noticed like with me and you, because we have
Mhm.
gone through so many like ups and downs in different parts of our friendship, but we have forgiven each other and definitely are closer than ever.
I know.
But you guys, this was so fun. This is so fun to have you on,
I
girlfriend.
know.
I was so excited to have Nina on because just seeing where our life was to where it is now,
I
like,
know.
it's so crazy. Like, we're gonna
Yeah.
look back on this. I'm gonna like at my wedding day, we're gonna have like old videos of me and Nina playing, and then
The pictures of us in
yep,
kindergarten.
yep. During your speech, you better have like old videos to us
Oh yeah.
now.
I'll get the best of the best out.
I'm gonna like at her wedding day. I'm gonna like have a slideshow of us.
Yep. It'll just be us. None of the husbands,
No,
just us.
during your speech. She told me she doesn't want me to do a speech at her wedding. I said, get over it. I'm standing up and doing a speech at your wedding. Well, I love you so much, girl. Thank you for coming
Thank you
on.
so much.
Everyone go follow Nina at Nina Cammilleri on Instagram.
Yep.
I'll put her in the description so that you can follow her. And just go love people today. Go spread
Yeah.
some joy. Go
It's
just
the holidays.
yes, the
Fill people
holidays
with joy.
and the new year. We will what this will be coming out the Friday after the new year. So
Happy
what did
New
I say?
Year.
Happy New Year. We're in 2025 now, you guys. So just happy
See
New
you
Year.
next
See you
year.
next year. All right, you guys. Well, have a great day. We love you. Thank Nina for coming on. Comment on all of her things. Tell her that you loved it. Write a comment on here and tell us one thing that you learned from this podcast. Share this podcast with anyone that you think could benefit from it. We love when you share our podcast. Our podcast. What am I saying? We love when you share the podcast and just help spread the love. So we will see you on the next one. Keep it real out there. See you later.
Keeping it real.
Keep
Bye.
keeping it real. Bye.